All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to tackle a question that honestly is at the heart of everything. In a world that's always pulling us in a million different directions, pulling us outward, how do we find our way back home, back to our true selves?
From the second we're born, our lives are just this collection of things we're chasing. And for so many of us, the big one, the first thing that really defines who we are, is our job. It takes up our time, our energy, pretty much all of our focus.
And then, of course, there are our relationships. You've got the people we love, the families we build, all the responsibilities we have for everyone else. And look, these are amazing, crucial parts of being human, but they also pull our attention outward.
And you can't forget our goals, right? The ambitions we have, the things we're trying to achieve, that future we're always trying to build. It's just this constant push, forward and outward. And then there's this thing, our constant companion, right? The endless scrolling, the pings and notifications that just never ever stop. Every single one of these things, whether it's big or small, is pulling us further and further away from our own center.
So that brings us to the big question, right? But where are you in all of this? I mean, with our focus always pointing out at the world, have we kind of forgotten how to look inward? Or maybe even that it's an option? Like, who are you really when you take away the job, the relationships, all of it?
But there is another way. It's an ancient path, really, that offers a totally different perspective. And here's the key. It's not about journeying about doing more. It's about becoming more. It's not about analyzing the world out there even harder. It's about finally learning how to see ourselves.
This practice has a name, Vipassana. And the word itself is kind of like a little roadmap. V means opposite, and Passana means to see. So it literally means to see in the opposite direction. Not out there, but in here. It's the simple, profound act of turning your attention away from the outside world and toward your inner world.
And there's this incredible story that just perfectly captures this idea of inner sight. The story goes that the sage Mahavir sees the Buddha meditating and tells him, "Close your eyes." Thing is, Buddha's eyes were already physically shut. Fast forward 6 years, the same thing happens. His eyes are closed, but his mind is still wandering everywhere. But then, after enlightenment, Buddha's teaching with his eyes wide open, and Mahavir comes back, he bows, and he says, "I am so happy your eyes are now closed."
So what does that even mean? Well, Buddha himself explained it. He said, "My eyes were closed, but my mind was everywhere." The real journey, you see, it wasn't about physically shutting out the world, it was about quieting the mind. So now, with his physical eyes open, he had finally become still inside. That was the real closing of the eyes, the true sight that Mahavir was talking about.
Okay, so if it's that simple, just look inward, then why is it so hard? What's stopping us? Well, the biggest roadblock isn't some external thing. It's right here. It's inside our own heads. It's our own restless, chaotic, and brilliant mind.
And this gets us to a huge paradox of being human. The ancient texts put it perfectly. The mind is the source of our bondage, and it's also the source of our liberation. Think about that. The same thing that creates all the chaos, the worry, the illusion, is the very same thing that can give us peace, clarity, and freedom. The tool that builds the prison is also the key to the door. It just depends on how we decide to use it. The crazy thing is how easily our minds get tricked into that bondage, often by things that aren't even real. There's this fantastic story about a merchant in the desert that shows this perfectly. He's got a caravan of 100 camels.
So he stops for the night, and he starts tying them all up. But he hits a snag. He counts his ropes, and he's only got 99. Just 99. He's got one camel left over and no rope to tie it with. He starts to panic, thinking it's just going to wander off into the desert.
But then, this wise old sage happens to be walking by and sees the guys freaking out. The merchant explains his problem, and the sage just smiles and says, "Look, the camel doesn't know you're missing a rope. Just pretend to tie it." So the merchant, probably thinking this is nuts, just goes through the motions of tying the last camel. And what do you know? The camel sits right down and stays put the entire night.
But here's where it gets really interesting. The next morning, he unties the 99 camels, but that last one, it won't budge. It just sits there. The merchant is totally baffled. He finds the sage again, who just says, "Well, you tied him with an imaginary rope last night. Now you have to untie him with an imaginary rope." So the merchant goes over, pretends to untie the camel, and boom, it stands right up. I mean, it just makes you wonder, doesn't it? How many of us are tied down by ropes that don't even exist? We are all tied by these imaginary ropes, and the mind that binds us is the exact same mind that can set us free.
Okay, so how do we do it? How do we untie these imaginary ropes in our own lives? How do we actually find our way back to that place of stillness? Let's turn this ancient philosophy into a really practical guide.
The first big clue comes from another story, this time about a king named Janak. To test his focus, he was given this crazy task: carry a glass of oil filled right to the top through his super busy city without spilling a single drop. And to make it harder, a soldier with a drawn sword was walking right behind him, ready to strike him down if he failed. Well, he did it, and when he got back, they asked him what he thought of the city, and he said he didn't see any of it. Why? He said, "My mind is on this single drop of oil, because I don't know when the last second will come." His focus was absolute, total presence.
That incredible focus from King Janak's story, it actually gives us a simple 3-step toolkit. So step 1, be present. Just like the king, give 100% of your attention to whatever you're doing right now. Treat every single day like it's a whole new life. Step 2, honest introspection. Carve out just 10 minutes in the morning and 10 in the evening to be alone. Just look at your thoughts and actions, but, and this is key, without guilt and without pride. Just observe. And step 3, call from the heart. This means calling out to the divine, the universe, your higher self, whatever you want to call it. But here's the twist. You're not asking for stuff. You're just connecting.
And when you start practicing these things, you start to realize something really important. The destination of this whole journey, it isn't some faraway place. It's not some mystical state of being you have to achieve. It's about finding something that was with you the entire time, your own center.
And that is the real payoff of the inner journey. We're talking about finding stillness right in the middle of chaos, gaining real clarity about your purpose, getting freedom from that nonstop mental chatter that drives us all crazy. And maybe most important, finding a deep connection to your true self, a kind of peace that doesn't just disappear when things get tough.
Because ultimately, this journey is not about doing more, it's about becoming more. It's a total shift. It's not about adding another thing to your to-do list. It's a journey of subtraction, really. It's about letting that loud, demanding I get a little bit quiet, so that something else, something divine, can finally begin to speak. So that really leaves us with one final, big question to think about. We spend so much of our lives on external journeys, right? Planning trips, mapping out our careers, building relationships. But what if the most important journey of all, the one that changes everything, is the one inward? Are you ready to begin?